James's meal is salmon, kale, babaganoush on some cucumber, wax beans, half a baked potato with some pizza sauce and tomatoes on top, and a power bowl mix with some Swiss chard and stuff. I'm having some soup, and I'm going to talk about I Still See You, which I guess was based on a novel with a stupid title. I'm going to also talk about Cinderella, Lovecraft Country, which I talked about earlier, but I've now finished it, so this is the complete first season. The end of it, the whole of it reviewed. And James might be talking about Truth is the Only Client, MLK FBI, Ancient Female Rulers, and then at the bottom I put everything. It was awful. So awful. And I'll talk about that too. So, there we go. And let's get this stuff started. My friend Angel came out for some company. Oh, and I guess I watered my seat a little bit while I was watering the plants. No, now I have a wet bottom. That's all right. You okay?
She would be enthused about the fish.
Oh, yes. I better put her down. She's just going to be begging like crazy.
She might be just going right on the table.
Yes, she might. So, I Still See You. That got top of the stack. And it was a very interesting story. It's just kind of thing a young adult might want to watch. It's a ghost story of sorts. And it's a bit of a murder mystery, too. And I figured it out long before, but as soon as if I tell you, then you'll figure it out too. So, anyway, figured it out pretty early on, but I still enjoyed it, and I still think it's worth top of the stack. I will be reviewing this one later, with tomorrow's stack or whatever, or whenever I do the next review for a bunch of stuff. But I'll just say right now, when I first started this, I was like, oh god, this is like a total aggressive propagandist machine, and it's just awful. And yet, I started getting into it and enjoying it. So,
is it a movie or is it a TV series?
No, it's a movie. Okay. And anyway, I don't know. I just wanted to bring it out to talk about this one a little bit. So, Lovecraft Country. This got even more aggressively offensive. I don't necessarily want to say racist, but I'm certainly thinking it. Anyway, I enjoyed it. As you remember, I gave it a high rating yesterday, and I still do. But one person doing something wrong is wrong. When another person imitates such wrong behavior, it's still wrong. So, anyway, some of the things are really dark and twisted. I mean, there's this whole idea, I brought this out because there's a sort of Cinderella kind of idea with this. And with aggressive propagandists, when you're a little kid, about, like, the disc model is actually, if you look at it, it's really, the aggressive ruler is more like a teenage prince or whatever, and so he's not really like the king. He's like a teenage prince, like somebody between the ages of 15 and 25, very aggressive. The most aggressive part of the population is 15 to 25-year-old males. So that's that part of the circle, and then below that is the little princess, and so she's maybe about 10 years old or 8 or something like that, And she wants to wear pretty dresses and just everyone look at me. I'm so pretty, whatever. So, and then you have this end you have the mom, and then you have the father. And so you mature and you become less aggressive. You become more passive. Hopefully, as you age. So anyway, and with some people, and more and more in our society, the aggressive propagandists are being produced. They're not growing up out of that stage, because at that stage, when they're a little kid and they look at me, I want everything, and I'm so lovely, give me whatever I want. Whatever. It's they're whatever money that they happen to make, by whatever means they happen to make it, they are the ultimate consumers, that age demographic, and that personality type. So we're seeing a lot that are aging, and they want to stay. They want to become stay a princess forever. Anyway, so what do we have? Who's going to care for all the little princesses out there that are grown up? And I mean, we can't possibly. There's not enough mothers out there and fathers' personality types, and we're not their mothers and fathers, so how can we possibly be expected to care for them like that? So anyway.
But we care for them through our taxes and stuff like that.
We do. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so there's a bit of a Cinderella sort of story going on here. There's this wealthy white woman, and since she was born a girl, she's in this system where her family, that their only sons are appreciated. So it's like the whole, it's a typical sort of primogeniture kind of thing, right, going on. And so this little waif of a white woman, she is trying to befriend an illegitimate heir, because he has the bloodline, because his ancestors, his mother's mother, whatever, down the road, she had been a slave, and she'd gotten pregnant by the man of the house, and so he has this blood. He's a male. He has this. So it kind of this is another little kid's idea. There's a lot of kids out there. They think, oh, I'm not actually these people who say that they're my parents, though I'm not from them. They're just poor and whatever. But I'm like little orphan Annie. I'm going to be picked up by Daddy Warbucks, and that's whatever. Or I have this secretly. I have this family blood that's really special. I'm really special. So it's a childish sort of idea right there. Then you have his girlfriend, the white woman, then secretly gives a bunch of money in a will, saying that it was from, she organized it so it shows that it was from her mother that died, the African American mother that died, and left this daughter everything. So this girlfriend of this young man with the special blood, she buys a big fancy house that was also, she was encouraged to buy through, it was all it was orchestrated by this white woman, but she doesn't know it. She doesn't know that she's actually just a puppet in this process, right? But she ends up with the wealthy, the big house and everything, and in the end, she doesn't have to worry about the white woman because she dies. So it's like, Yeah, just use the white woman to get the big house, and there you go. You get it, and you don't have to worry about if she does in the end. So, oh boy. Anyway, so there's a bit of that here. And I find it a little bit twisted, but it is what it is. So James will probably talk about these 2 or 3, and I'm going to put them off to the side for now to talk about everything. This was just god-awful. It's based on a #1 New York Times bestseller, and honestly, I don't know. I'm increasingly wondering if the New York Times bestseller list, if it's just bought, because it's honestly, there's a lot of crap on that list. And so this story is pretty stupid. You basically have a girl in a bubble sort of idea. You know, has a severe autoimmune problem or immunity problem. I can't remember what the name of it was, but I don't really care. So she has no immunity, essentially. So people have to be really careful being around her. She's been in her house her whole life. She's never gotten out because she could get sick very easily. And so her mom happens to be a doctor, so that's pretty handy for having a girl that's so sick. Well, she's a teenager. She sees a handsome boy next door has moved in, and she's a teenager. She wants to rebel. First she gets him into the house, and then she gets out. She runs away. And so, I mean, it's very silly. Like, I'm watching this and I'm like, James has a compromised immune system because of his cancer and the treatment for his cancer. So I'm watching this and I'm like, they're not wearing masks, they're not, or whatever. I'm like, she would die. This is ridiculous. And then when she leaves, she goes on a trip to Hawaii. It's like, oh my gosh, okay, she's obviously going to die. Well, the story takes a different twist, and I'm not going to give it away. So, just in case you want to watch this really, really stupid movie, it's so bad. The acting was bad. Everything was bad about this movie. Just a really stupid story. And now James is going to talk about some stuff while I eat soup. So I don't know which one you want to go for here, but I'm going to have to return those. So
Today?
No, a couple days.
I'm still talking about this truth is the only client. Interviews with Warren Commission staff and people personally involved tell the story of the investigation, so-called, into JFK's murder, John F. Kennedy's murder. Conspiracy theories are debunked.
Not at all. That's a big stretch.
Oswald's actions, Jack Ruby's role, and revelations since the 70s are explored. That's like saying we went to the boundary of Waterton Park and we explored it. Not the boundary, Waterton Park. When they say that Oswald's actions are explored, there's a lot of made-up action. Jack Ruby's role, it's not explored at all. Did they even mention his connection to the mafia? I can't recall. Revelations since the 70s are explored. These guys started revealing. When did this movie get put out? I think it was in the 90s. Maybe 93, maybe the 30-year anniversary or something like that. What? 2019? Okay, this book was put out, what was it, 2004? 2005. It was 14 years before this stupidity was put out. Okay. Revelations since the 70s. So they do talk to Blake. What's his Blakely or something like that. His theory is the mafia were involved, and that he said there were 4 shots, but I think he's given up on one of them. Doesn't matter. It's however many shots it took. Did the shots come from different sources? Maybe 2 different sources. I suspect they had more shooters lined up, but they got the headshot that they wanted. It was staggering how successful. Why would they continue shooting? Hey, like we've blown more than half of his brain out of his skull. Let's keep shooting just in case he's isn't dead or something. I mean, Jackie's going to get part of his brain off of the trunk of the car that they're in. I believe it was a Thunderbird or something like that. Oh man, we better keep shooting, Let's shoot Jackie while we're at it. We've already got John Connolly and, put him in hospital. Let's keep shooting. No. The thing is, you start running. And one of my favorite shot in this movie is not to talk about the shots fired. It's of a police guy on a motorcycle, and they're dismissing. You see, like, shots did come from the front. I don't care if they came from other places. I don't give a flying flock, and I said flock as in birds. So I don't think I'm cussing on camera. The show Dealey Plaza. I've been calling it Daily Plaza because I've just seen it written. Never actually heard people yapping about it. Okay, they don't have a picture of Dealey Plaza. But let's just say that this is the road here. It's Elm Street. And the grassy knoll is, this means nothing. This is the grassy knoll up here. You can't move this ball out of here.
I can take it. There.
Grassy knoll's up here. This is Elm Street. Kind of at an angle. It's not running this way. And here's the Texas Book Depository right up here. Yeah. Well, we'll make this a real grand venture here, okay? Grassy knoll. Grassy knoll here. Here's the taller Texas Book Depository. I believe it's the 5th floor. It was 6 floors, and the 5th floor is where Oswald was supposed to have been firing at Kennedy coming along this way. Coming up to the so-called triple overpass. Why is it triple overpass? You get Elm Street. I think it's Main Street and another street, all converging. Main Street goes directly underneath. Isn't Main Street something like that? And Elm Street and Houston Street's up here. And there are 3 things going under this overpass. So they're coming up to it. That is this parade. With Kennedy not at the front. He's number 2. The police chief, Jesse Curry, is that his name? He's heading the parade, and he's in on it. Oh, why? You'll see the Zapruder film. Zapruder's basically on the corner of this grassy knoll here. He's taking the film as it comes along. Now, maybe he started filming only when Kennedy's car got close. And but you can tell from other films that Jesse Curry is in front of the parade. Incidentally, he's not in an open vehicle. Closed. Hardtop. Yeah. Why? He knows there's going to be bullets raining down. And, by the time it gets here, he's not in sight. He's way ahead of things. It's like, I'm matting it and I'm getting out of here because I don't want to be collateral damage. What a hilarious sort of thing. I don't think anyone's pointed it out. I haven't run across it. I've read a few books on this. Jesse Curry mats it to get away from the killing pit here. Anyway, in this movie, what is the truth is the only client? I'm crying bourgeois. So they've got this police officer on a motorbike, and you can see that it's after the shots have been fired. People are on the ground, are lying down. They're doing the smart thing, you know, like you hear shots fired, you hit the deck. They've hit the deck. And where's he looking? He's not looking over his shoulder. He's approximately in this area. He's looking to the right and up. And these idiots, they want to hide the truth that was hidden back in 1964, basically, with the Warren Commission. And they blow it by having this police officer looking to the right and up. Why is he looking up? It's a grassy knoll, okay, which is a little protuberance in the landscape, knoll. And it's off to the right. When you see what happens after, there's film of what happens after the shooting. And what happens is you'll see this rush to judgment. Sorry, Mark Lane. I hope you're still alive. This rush to judgment. There are cops, there are people, very brave people, because it's not their job. They want to go after the shooters. And they're hearing and seeing stuff up here on the grassy knoll. There's all sorts of witnesses. There are witnesses who are on the triple overpass. I believe they were railway employees taking some time off of work. And they say they saw a disturbance right on the edge of the grassy knoll here, underneath a lot of trees and stuff like that. They could see before the shooting, they could see someone walking around. They could even detect I'm not sure if they could detect it wouldn't be smoke. And afterwards they found a huge number of prints. They're saying hundreds of them. Like someone was pacing around here. If you're going to be getting ready to shoot the president, you'd be pacing. You'd be nervous. And it looks as though, it had rained that day, earlier that morning. The rain had kind of held off for part of the parade, at least the end of it. They'd scraped their muddy feet off on the fender of the car and stuff like that. Anyway, they could see this activity. It looks as though maybe a person stood up on I believe, on the hood of the car. And the car was kind of hiding these folks in here. You know? They were hidden from the road by these trees or the shrubbery. And then they were kind of hidden by the car a little bit. And then you got a guy called Cleo Bowers up on, I think it's a 14-foot little platform. He was, I think, helping to marshal vehicles in the railway yard that eventually, debouched in this railroad that went on the triple overpass. So Cleo Bowers, he said, and the people on the overpass said they saw smoke. They heard shots and saw smoke coming out of here. And of course the Warren Commission was saying, modern arms, they don't give off smoke. Who says it's modern arms, you stupid chimps? They would have known what was fired. But they're saying, and apparently modern arms, at least modern back then, 60 years ago this year, give off smoke. Okay, how much time?
minutes or something.
How much time?
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Four
yeah, and poor Cleo Bowers, he paid for his honesty with his life. He ended up dying prematurely, as so many witnesses did. So many witnesses on that day. Prematurely. So, yeah, They give it away. They give it away. They're not mentioning this rush of cops and people. And again, brave cops, but even braver people. Because I don't know if cops wore flak jackets then and stuff like that, but at least they had guns and so on and so forth. These people wanted to apprehend these a-holes. Pardon my French. But yeah, Cleo Bowers is the one. He's on this 14-foot platform. He sees 3 bums, but they're bums in a different sense, jump on the train, on a train that's just set to get out. And it starts to go out, but he manages to put a stop on it. Cleo Bowers, if there's a heaven, I know you're there, buddy. Because he had it stopped, I believe, and they apprehended these 3 bums. And what they are is, you see this shirt, they're like this, eh? They got fancy shoes on and kind of fancy clothing, but they kind of try to look like bums. And they were released. Despite Cleo Bowers' evidence that they were running away from the grassy knoll where tons of people, dozens of people, had heard stuff from down here, and people had seen stuff up here, including smoke. And here's the thing, like the people, how there were people in the parade after Kennedy's thing. The car, you think the car right after him, they were kind of stacked together. Unlike Jesse Curry, he's out of there, man. Even before that saying became popular, he was out of there. But they're kind of crammed together. And understand, in this book, The Ultimate Sacrifice, they actually talk about Greer, the guy who's driving the vehicle. And there have been all sorts of stupid, irresponsible people saying, he was in on it, he's part of the Secret Service, the Praetorian Guard for the president. And he puts on the brakes. That's further evidence. Their training was, when you're under attack, you hammer it and you get out of there. Why wouldn't you? He's coming along here. And he knows he's hearing stuff. And stuff is flying by his ears. And he knows he's going right into an ambush. And they do point it out. They're the only people besides me who've pointed that out. That's why Greer put on the binders. Because he knew it was only going to get worse. He was going into an ambush. They were getting closer and closer to where these guys came from. So, of course, these cars start... The car behind the president's car, the president's Thunderbird, is getting right up on the bumper. And these are people... I don't know if they testified to the Warren Commission. It's at least 2 people said they saw... It's not hearing. They saw a flash or 2 up here off the grassy knoll. Now, who are these stupid bums in the vehicles? They are, yeah, they're politicians and stuff like that, but they're human beings as well. Why would they lie? Because understand, you get idiots like this saying they're a bunch of conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. They saw the stuff. Now we're going to be talking about who actually directed the cover-up. The guy who directed the cover-up was Robert Kennedy. Why did he do it? The thing is, he did it and he lost power in '64. I think he resigned or was booted out of power. LBJ hated him. But I'm telling you, there's no reason, just because Robert Kennedy wanted a cover-up, why we should be continuing it now, or why the United States should be continuing it now. Release